Welcome to the Fox 54 Weekend Review. I'm Kenesha Dees. It's the only place in North Alabama to get the week's local headlines condensed into one program. Here's a taste of what's ahead. Our top story this week, the government shut down this week after Congress failed to pass a spending bill. With so many federal employees in the Tennessee Valley, we take a look at potential local effects and verified what it will take to end it. The federal government shutdown began overnight after Congress failed again today to pass short-term funding bills. Congress not expected to attempt a vote again until Friday. Meanwhile, federal agencies are rolling out their shutdown plans, with some workers furloughed, others reporting without pay and talk of possible layoffs. Here in Huntsville, the impact is felt by federal workers and contractors, but local organizations are stepping in to help. Fox 54's Valentina Chalala has more.
Redstone Federal Credit Union is offering relief loans to eligible members impacted by the government shutdown. Federal employees, contractors, and service members can apply for a 1.5% loan up to $5,000 with no payment due for 60 days. Thousands of federal employees and contractors in Huntsville, including those at Redstone Arsenal, are feeling the impacts of the government shutdown. Local credit unions and nonprofit organizations are providing financial assistance, groceries, and other resources to help families manage during this time.
They're worried about, their overall reduction in potential pay. We've definitely seen contact increase today. We've had people visiting the branches, calling the call center, and contacting us online. I would say don't wait. Contact us now, because we can help you plan, we can help you work through any solutions that we could put in place for the future. If you wait until you get behind, it can be more difficult.
But for many families, the impact goes beyond bills, extending to basic needs like food.
We've had a long line, started at 2:05, and we're still going. So we want to be here for the community. If they need help with fresh fruits and vegetables, canned goods, bakery, meats, whatever it is, we want to be here to help them. Nobody should go hungry in our community. We want to welcome anybody that's going through a small crisis or a big crisis. We just want people to know that we're here to help. A room full of volunteers with smiles, and everyone's welcome.
With local credit unions providing financial relief and food pantries opening their doors, community leaders say Huntsville is pulling together to support federal workers through this shutdown. In Huntsville, I'm Valentina Chalala, Fox 54 News.
Redstone says its relief loan program is available now, and Manna House continues distributing food 3 nights a week. Both organizations say they're ready to help families for as long as the shutdown lasts. And as the shutdown continues, some federal programs are beginning to scale back. Others will not be closing. Here's a quick breakdown. Social Security recipients will continue to receive their benefits. However, Social Security Administration workers could face furloughs. Student loan borrowers will have to keep making payments. The Department of Education says it will continue to send out student aid. And the Department of Agriculture says the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, known as SNAP or food stamps, will continue subject to the availability of funding. So will benefits for women, infants, and children. And Redstone Arsenal announced today most of its key operations remain open for now. All gates at the Army installation will operate as normal through Friday, but that could change if the shutdown lingers. Routine police, fire, and guard services remain fully manned, though law enforcement administrative work will be delayed because of those furloughs. Some services like the Army Community Service Office and food trucks operated by the Post Exchange are closed. Last night, the U.S. entered a government shutdown, the 21st in our nation's history. Though it's a big deal, it's hardly unprecedented. But something many of us haven't seen before is the Senate leaving the floor hours before the deadline without an approved funding bill, which raises the question, could Congress simply stay away indefinitely, leaving federal workers across the country unpaid and the economy on a tightrope? We verify. This happens nearly every year. Republican and Democrat haggle over the funding bill for weeks, leaving Americans on edge as we wait for lawmakers to reach an agreement before government shutdown begins. And this is far from the first time it's come to that. The last shutdown in 2018 was the longest in U.S. history at 35 days. But what incentive does Congress have to spend long hours on the floor working to come to an agreement? Does anything prevent an impasse that could drag on for weeks or months or even indefinitely? Let's verify. Our sources are the United States Constitution, Congress.gov, and Senate.gov. One possible reason Congress would want to end a shutdown is so they can be paid. But according to the U.S. Constitution, Congress is paid automatically by the Treasury, meaning members receive their checks whether other parts of the government are funded or not. So what's stopping members of Congress from simply staying home? This is also laid out in the Constitution. It says that each body can, quote, compel the attendance of absent members in such manner and under such penalties as each house may provide, end quote. In 1798, the Senate adopted a new rule specifying the penalties for enforcing senators' attendance. That rule states that the Sergeant-at-Arms has the authority to bring absent members back to the chamber. The current Senate Sergeant-at-Arms is Jennifer Hemingway, but she can only bring absent members back to the chamber when it is in session. She does not have the power to make them convene or stay in chambers indefinitely. So could President Trump tell Congress that they cannot leave the floor until they come to an agreement? The president does have the authority to convene Congress on extraordinary occasions, typically involving national emergencies, declarations of war, or the need for immediate legislative action. However, the president does not have the power to force Congress to stay in session until they agree on something. The House and Senate decide when they're in session, when they take breaks, and how long debates last. So we can verify that yes, a government shutdown can continue indefinitely until Congress passes legislation and the president signs it. There is no timer or constitutional deadline that would bring it to an end. What usually ends shutdowns is political pressure, economic impacts, and/or public opinion. If you have something you want us to verify, text us at 256-382-2692. A slate of new laws took effect in Alabama this week, including one extending additional protections to law enforcement and another helping pregnant women get access to Medicaid. The Back the Blue law is part of a litany of legislation that took effect today. It's aimed at adding additional legal protection for police officers. It's a change that has several in the community saying officers are already afforded enough protection. Fox 54's Kilpa Guayo investigates.
The Back the Blue law goes into effect today, and I looked into what it'll mean for Alabamians who have to interact with the police. This law gives police expanded legal immunity from criminal and civil lawsuits. The law also defines their scope of duty, saying the protection applies if an officer's actions are in line with department policy and the law. It requires agencies to track use of force complaints, and it only applies to future incidents. Hartselle Police Chief Alan McDearman said it'll help local officers to do their job without the fear of getting sued. He said in a statement to Fox 54, it will strengthen the ability of law enforcement officers to be able to enforce the law without fear of retribution when they are acting under the scope of the law. McDearman added, it will also hold accountable those officers that are acting outside the scope of the law and police department policies. But local attorney Andrew Siegel tells Fox 54 that accountability needs to be more readily accessible outside of the police department.
With this new bill, it shifts the burden. So once the officer says or is able to show, hey, I was acting within my discretionary authority, then the person trying to sue the police has to show, oh, well, they were acting in some reckless or unconstitutional way. But a lot of minority communities particularly, but poor people, other people who have interactions with the police, feel like it's removing some of their protections and giving police more protection than they already need.
Siegel says now it's just that much more difficult to get a law enforcement lawsuit into the courtroom.
As it is intended, it'll make it much harder for people, and it's already hard, but it'll make it much harder for people to sue the police on a civil standpoint.
Chief McDearman also said that the Hartselle Police Department regularly monitors and reprimands employees when they fail to meet department standards, but legal advocates say that all law enforcement needs third-party accountability. In Huntsville, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
Fox 54 also reached out to the Huntsville Police Department, but they declined to comment. It's unclear how this law will directly affect Alabamians, but there will be a higher burden of proof for lawsuits involving law enforcement officers. Also, starting tomorrow, a new law aimed at improving maternal health goes into effect in Alabama. The presumptive Medicaid eligibility law allows pregnant women to get prenatal care immediately without waiting for full Medicaid approval. Supporters say it's a major step toward reducing the state's high maternal and infant mortality rates.
This bill, which covers presumptive Medicaid, lets women go out into the office and seek help immediately. We know how important it is for early intervention with pregnant moms. So please, this is our message to women out there. Get health care early. It protects you and it protects your baby.
Under the new law, pregnant women can receive care for up to 60 days while they wait for their Medicaid application to process. A popular annual concert that originated in Coleman is headed to Decatur. We found out why Rock the South is making the move in 2026. In a new twist, the popular music festival Rock the South is making a move closer to Huntsville. The change spurred by the festival's growth and a need for more space that can handle all types of weather. Rock the South started 15 years ago as a relief fundraiser for a tornado that swept through Coleman County, but since then, it's turned into an annual concert series attended by thousands with lineups including Kid Rock, Hank Williams Jr., and Nickelback. Fox 54's Caleb Aguayo shows us how the change will impact Coleman's economy.
Rock the South is moving away from Coleman after 15 years of country music festivals. They're bringing everything over to the Fields at Decatur, a 150-acre venue with campgrounds and professionally engineered rainwater drainage. In fact, co-founder Shane Quick says the new site will give the concert series more space and flexibility than the previous space here at York Family Farms. Moving to Decatur is not about leaving those roots behind. It's about building on them, Quick said in a statement. He added, after more than a decade of unforgettable moments, we now have the chance to take everything fans love about this festival and make it even bigger. And Michael McBrayer with Rock the South explains the need for more space.
We decided that we wanted to own the property that we have this festival on. So we've acquired 150 acres off of Gordon Terry Parkway in Decatur on a 4-lane highway that presents a great opportunity to build the festival how it needs to be built, build proper drainage, create a site that is a little more weatherproof, that allows more drainage, allows more shade structure, allows more parking. It allows us to expand.
But residents who live close to the festival have mixed opinions. Some think the move to Decatur is the removal of an annual headache, but for others who provided event parking, it's the loss of a huge source of income.
You would find equal parts of glad that it's not going to be in our neighborhood this year. People came through here late at night and trash was everywhere, to those that were involved in the process saying, yes, but in the long run, it was worth it.
Resident Stuart Rowan parked up to 1,200 cars on each night of the festival, potentially earning up to $100,000. He says with Rock the South's growth, it was inevitable that they'd eventually find a new space.
Every year was different. And that was a problem for Rock the South, which I believe logistically is one of the reasons they moved away, because everything was dependent on the weather. And so if there was a lot of rain, they couldn't park as many cars on their property because of mud and problems like that.
With the new venue, Rock the South expects to be able to accommodate everyone who wants to come out. In Coleman, I'm Caleb Aguayo, Fox 54 News.
You can head over to the Rock the South website for a map of the new location, the concert dates for 2026, and information about next year's lineup. There's a link to that on fox54.com. We're right in the middle of high school football season. We reported on a few serious injuries, and now a Buckhorn family is questioning the emergency response to a broken leg their son suffered during a game. A Buckhorn high school football player suffered a severe leg injury last month, and his mother says delays in emergency care may have made it worse. They're questioning how it was handled and whether the response aligned with school safety protocols. Fox 54's Valentina Chalala spoke with the boy's mother, who tells us why the family is so concerned.
Amy White-Cotton says her son Moses waited in agony for medical care after breaking his leg during Buckhorn High School's football game against Hazel Green. This was the moment it happened. You can see number 10 go down awkwardly there in the middle of the screen. The injury was serious, a compound fracture, the kind of injury that requires urgent attention.
You know, he's screaming, he's hurting, and they said, no, there's cars blocking us in.
But while Moses was put into an ambulance right away, that ambulance didn't move. Minute after agonizing minute, for Moses, a wait that dragged on for more than half an hour, according to Amy. We checked, and the Alabama High School Athletic Association's Emergency Action Plan lists a compound fracture in which the bone breaks through the skin among the most serious concerns, alongside severe bleeding and loss of consciousness. But the delayed drive to the hospital, as the family understands, stemmed from a confluence of circumstances. A blocked exit, and the White-Cottons believe a reluctance to allow the only on-site medical team to leave with the game still being played. Moses eventually did leave in a different ambulance that was sent to the scene. Parents and athletic authorities agree student safety is a priority. Now families are hoping this incident leads to a review on emergency procedures and clarity as to how ambulances are guided during games.
The ambulance being there was like a false sense of security, in my opinion. I should have just put him into my vehicle and taken him to the hospital. We could have been there much faster. My son is not playing this year anymore, so I want to help other kids. This isn't necessarily about him anymore. I just don't want another kid to have to go through that.
Madison County Schools says changes are already being made. In a statement, the school system said, "We are enhancing our plans with portable tow zone and no parking signage at each of our high school campuses to keep ambulance access areas clear and accessible when needed." District officials say their emergency action plans are reviewed regularly and that the new signage is part of a broader effort to improve response times. White Cotton says she hopes those changes will prevent other families from experiencing the same delays. In Madison, I'm Valentina Chalala, Fox 54 News.
Moses Whitecotton is now recovering from surgery, though he's out for the rest of the season. He already has one college football offer on the table, with others still pending, and his family says he plans to play again. A shooting claimed the life of another Tennessee Valley teen. Jaden Macklin's family is pushing for more gun safety as they remember a life cut short.
Gun violence has recently claimed another young life here in Huntsville. 16-year-old Columbia High School student Jaden Macklin is being laid to rest this weekend after being killed in a shooting a week ago. His family joined tonight by the community in a heartfelt balloon release. They tell us they're heartbroken and are now calling for change. Fox 54's Valentina Chalala has more.
I never thought in a million years this would happen.
It's completely devastating.
It's just been an emotional week, man.
Family and friends gathered to remember 16-year-old Jaden Macklin, a teen remembered for his humor, his love of basketball, and his sharp sense of style. Court records identifying Macklin as the victim of a shooting last weekend. The records show the suspect, Macklin's own cousin, Deshaun Harkey, was handling what he believed to be an unloaded gun when it fired, striking and killing Jaden. Harkey now faces manslaughter charges.
He just loved life and just loved being around his friends, and his friends loved him, and he was just a happy kid.
You are my strength.
The community coming together tonight, releasing balloons in Jaden's memory.
If we could be more responsible for our firearms and making sure that we put them in proper places that the wrong hands won't get on them. Let's do something to protect our youth, because without them, there's no tomorrow. We're asking you to please make better decisions before your actions, because it's really affecting our community and taking our loved ones away at an early age.
There's too many young men losing their lives, and my grandson is now one of those young men. The more family and community that's rallying and loving on you and rallying around you and just giving you love, that kind of eases the pain.
While the family and community continue to mourn the loss of Jaden, the people who loved him most now look toward change in the future. A study done in 2023 by Johns Hopkins University shows in Alabama, an average 84 children and teens are killed by guns each year. And Jaden's family hopes by speaking out, they can raise awareness and help prevent other families from experiencing this kind of loss.
Gun violence is serious, and it's happening every day. It's not only happening with adults, now our babies. It's definitely preventable. I just want to put out the message to stay on your babies, stay in their business, question them, meet their friends' parents, pop up over there.
For Jaden's family, the grief is overwhelming, but their message is clear. They don't want another family to experience this same pain. In Huntsville, I'm Valentina Chalala, Fox 54 News.
Thank you, Valentina. Now, you may recognize the name Shakira Samples, Jaden's stepmother. She's also the mother of one of the children of Ronald DeMoss Jr., the missing Huntsville realtor was last seen last December, a case that remains ongoing. It's been just over a week since a 16-year-old Huntsville teenager was killed in a shooting. This weekend, family and friends coming together to help lay Jaden Macklin to rest. We showed you this scene yesterday. Public visitation for Jaden capped off with a balloon release tribute, as you can see here, in honor of him. Family and friends sharing this moment together. The celebration of Jaden's life continued this afternoon. Inside of the sanctuary of Fellowship of Faith Church in Huntsville, friends and family gathering to celebrate the life of Jaden Macklin, a 16-year-old Columbia high school student who was shot and killed on September 20th.
My grandbaby was a happy young man. You wouldn't forget him once you come in contact with him. Jaden was just, he had a heart. He had a big heart, and he loved to love.
He wanted to be the best dressed. He wants you to know it's him. So, you know, man, he got his wings, so he wanted to be fly. Man, he got his wings.
Now he the flyer.
Now he fly.
Although he was 16 and he passed away at a very early age, unexpectedly, he was baptized 3 weeks ago. So we know exactly where he is, and he's in good hands at that point.
Serenity Funeral Home director Brian Byers was overwhelmed by the crowds at Saturday's visitation and balloon release.
The outpour of love within that crowd, you couldn't imagine it.
This loss hitting close for Byers. Jaden's grandmother, Dorothy Corbett, is also on the Serenity staff.
It's an honor to walk beside her during this time. We are more than a funeral home, we're a family.
But Byers mentions how the community has rallied around this family during these difficult times.
This amazing family has been a part of this community for a very long time. So he had incredible steps to fill, along with his grandmother and his amazing parents. So I can see why the community is deeply touched, because they are the type of family that will come to anybody's rescue.
Court records say the suspect and Jaden's cousin, Deshaun Harkey, believe the gun was unloaded at the time of the shooting. He now faces manslaughter charges.
This week, a special group of campers got to learn about the astronaut life and how anyone can reach for the stars.
3, 2, 1.
Check that out. Campers from Space Camp for interested visually impaired students taking part in launching a rocket as part of their week at Space Camp. The SciVis program brings blind and visually impaired students from not just the United States, but from 6 different countries to take part in Space Camp. For one blind camper from Maryland who's attending for his 2nd year, he is using this time to not just be with peers who share the same disability as himself, but to also learn how to cope with it.
To me, the best thing about taking part in Space Camp is actually being around other people who have the same disability as me. And I kind of get to learn from them of how they do things, which allows me to, further, learn how I can do things and how I can better do things. I learn how to have better strategies of doing these things. And it helps me reinforce the idea that I still can do everything that everyone else can. Just maybe slightly different ways, but I can still do those things.
Wow, what an opportunity. And for SciVis coordinator Dan Oates, he echoed similar sentiments to Adam, sharing a story with FOX54 about what it means for those who attend this yearly camp.
Many of these kids may be the only blind kid in their school, in their district, and their county, or whatever, and then they come here, and it's like, oh my gosh, here's 140 kids like me, and they never get that very often. One kid came up to me a couple years ago and said, "Thank you for creating Planet Blind." And I was sort of stumped at first, and then he explained it. When I come here, no one questions me about why my eyes look funny, why I wear sunglasses, why I use a cane, why I use a telescope. Everybody here does that, so I don't feel anything but normal while I'm here.
And the camper we showed you earlier, Adam, is most excited to take part in the 3.5 extended duration mission this year, hoping to use strategies that he learned from his time last year. After a person in Decatur shot an accused would-be burglar in their home, FOX54 took a look at Alabama's Stand Your Ground law and how it actually works. Yesterday marked 2 years since Steve Perkins died by the hands of a now former Decatur police officer in Perkins' driveway. That trial scheduled in November. This past Sunday, a woman shot and killed a would-be burglar who broke into her home. And so the Stand Your Ground law is on many of our minds. It's been used in successful defenses in Alabama many times, but when does it actually apply? Can you use deadly force on anyone who comes into your property without your permission? Let's verify. Police say a man was shot and killed while trying to burglarize a home in Decatur Sunday. Was the homeowner justified in wielding deadly force against a would-be thief? When does stand your ground law apply? We verify. Our sources are the Alabama Code and attorney Joe Lampley with Joe Lampley Law Offices in Huntsville. According to Alabama Code Section 13A 323, a person is justified in using force if they reasonably believe it is necessary to prevent imminent unlawful force against them. But this standard hinges on reasonable belief. So what is that? We asked attorney Lampley.
That's not necessarily a clear black and white standard. You simply look at all the facts, the totality of the circumstances, and try to derive from that what would any other typical person in this particular factual scenario, what would they have done? And that's why the statute allows for a reasonable person standard.
The law also distinguishes between non-deadly and deadly force. Non-deadly force is allowed when necessary to defend yourself or another from unlawful force. Deadly force is justified only when necessary to prevent death, serious physical injury, or the commission of a violent felony. But what about the instance in Decatur? Does a break-in justify the use of deadly force?
If someone is committing an offense and there is they are not engaged in any unlawful or attempt unlawful physical force against you, you're not free just to take your gun and shoot someone or to stab someone. Now that's a little tricky area because we've had cases where someone is trying to break in your home, and on the other side of the door, you don't know whether they're armed or not armed. And so you engage in some behavior that you reasonably believe that this person on the other side of the door is getting ready to kick your door in, or they're trying to kick your door in, but you don't know whether or not they are armed or not armed. In those type of situations, it's not black and white.
The law goes on to state that individuals have no duty to retreat before using force in self-defense. This is why it's called the Stand Your Ground law. You have the right to stand your ground when facing an imminent threat to yourself or others. But this law is still open to interpretation. Courts must consider factors such as provocation, the nature of the threat, and whether the response was proportionate. So we can verify that the Stand Your Ground law applies when you are facing imminent danger on your own property. However, what justifies deadly force under this law is a decision up to the court's interpretation of the circumstances of each case. We do want to note no charges are expected in Sunday's shooting in Decatur. If you have something you want us to verify, text us at 256-382-2692. Let's wrap up this week by meeting our latest top teacher of the 2025-26 school year, Bryn Owen of New Bethel School. She loves teaching, and second grade is her happy place.
Now, Fox 54's top teacher, sponsored by Calhoun Community College.
We take you to a tiny school in Tuscumbia where one teacher is making a big impact. I'm told she goes beyond the four corners of her classroom, and I could tell when I walked in. Meet this week's Fox 54 top teacher, Bryn Owen from New Bethel Elementary School. Welcome to Bryn Owen's second grade class.
I just love second out of all of them. It's my favorite. So I'm happy to have been able to get back, and I hope it'll be my retirement.
If you look at her wall,
this is my 24th year.
You can tell she's dedicated her life to education, and 10 of those 24 years she spent at New Bethel Elementary.
This school is such a community. I didn't even really know about New Bethel till I moved out here, but the people in the community just love the school, and the kids are amazing, and the parents are so supportive. I just love being able to be a part of that because it doesn't really feel like coming to work. It feels like being a part of, just coming home and being with your family.
Owen says she has a favorite activity with the kiddos.
I love our carpet time when we read stories together. I read chapter books all throughout the year, and in fact, we finished our first one, Charlotte's Web, and we did like a little barnyard party, and we had snacks and watched the movie and did fair games.
Principal Jacob Walker is a witness to her work.
She stays here. She works overtime many days. She makes me feel bad for leaving sometimes because she's still here at work.
Owen has twin daughters who attend the school, and Walker says her love for them is the same as the love for her students.
She has the love for her students, really just like she does for her own children as far as education is concerned.
Owen hopes her students leave with good memories once they move on to the next grade level.
I hope that they smile, and I hope that they remember that they had a good time, even while they were learning things and learning hard things.
Congratulations, Bren. Check out the moment she was surprised as the Fox 54 top teacher on Fox 54 Plus and nominated teacher at fox54.com. Congratulations to Bren. Thank you for watching Fox 54's Weekend Review. Count on Fox 54 Plus to bring you more great programming with in-depth local specials, locked on sports, true crime, cooking shows, wellness experts, and continuing weather coverage. For everyone at Fox 54 News, I'm Kenesha Dees. Have a great weekend.